The grand halls of the Empire's Central Command echoed with the soft hum of holographic displays. Maps of countless stars filled the air, their light casting a blue glow across the faces of the Empire's most powerful leaders. At the center of the room, Fleet Commander Wilson stood straight-backed, his expression grave as he delivered his report. Supreme Council, our expansion ships have discovered a new world in Sector 7. Wilson said, his voice steady but concerned. The planet calls itself Earth. The council members exchanged bored looks. Another world to add to their 10,000-year-old empire. Nothing special. Admiral Jones, however, leaned forward in his seat, his old eyes narrowing as he studied the data streaming across his personal display. "Show us their capabilities," ordered the council leader, barely stifling a yawn. Wilson waved his hand, and new images appeared. Primitive space stations orbited the blue planet. Small ships moved between Earth and its single moon. Nuclear power plants dotted the continents. Radio waves poured into space. "As you can see," Wilson continued, "they're barely a Type 1 civilization. They haven't even mastered faster-than-light travel." The council chamber filled with dismissive chuckles. One member even started reviewing documents for their next meeting. But Admiral Jones remained silent, his fingers moving quickly across his screen as he dug deeper into the data. "Standard conquest protocol, then," the council leader declared. "Send the usual demands for surrender. Give them a day to comply. Then begin the integration process." "Wait." Admiral Jones's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. All eyes turned to the veteran of 100 conquests. "There's something different about these humans." "Different?" The council leader's tone dripped with sarcasm. "They're primitive beings who haven't left their own star system. What could possibly be different?" Jones stood up, his aged frame still carrying the authority of his years of service. With a gesture, he pulled up new images. They showed Earth's history, endless wars, constant conflicts, rapid technological advancement. "Look at their development pattern," Jones urged. "Most species take thousands of years to advance from primitive weapons to spaceflight. These humans did it in less than 300 years. The council shifted uncomfortably as Jones continued. "And notice their warfare. Every other species we've encountered developed weapons as a response to external threats. But humans," he paused, making sure he had everyone's attention. "Humans have been fighting themselves since they first picked up stones. They turned warfare into an art form." "That just makes them savages," another council member scoffed. "No," Jones countered, pulling up more data. "It makes them dangerous. Look at their adaptation rate. Every war they fight leads to massive technological jumps. They don't just copy technology. They improve it. They find new ways to use it, ways that the original inventors never imagined." The council leader waved his hand dismissively. "They're still using chemical rockets and projectile weapons. Our shields can handle anything they throw at us." "That's not the point," Jones insisted, his voice growing frustrated. "We've conquered 1,000 worlds, and every single one of them followed the same pattern. They developed technology first, then weapons. But humans," he shook his head. "Humans develop technology because of weapons. Their entire history is driven by conflict. They don't think like us." Wilson cleared his throat. "Admiral, with all due respect, they're just another primitive species. Our standard protocols are based on predictable responses," Jones interrupted. "But everything in their history suggests humans don't respond predictably. They adapt, they improvise, and most importantly," he brought up one final image, showing Earth's military installations. "They're always ready for war." Silence fell over the council chamber. For a moment, Jones thought his warning might have gotten through. But then the council leader stood up, effectively ending the discussion. "Thank you for your interesting perspective, Admiral," he said coldly. "But we will proceed as planned. Send the diplomatic vessel. Issue the surrender demands. Begin the integration process." As the council members filed out, Admiral Jones remained behind, staring at the image of Earth rotating slowly in the holographic display. "They're making a mistake," he muttered to himself. "For the first time in 1,000 years, the Empire is making a terrible mistake." Out in the darkness of space, Earth's first detection systems were already tracking the Empire's approaching ships. And in underground bunkers across the planet, humanity was doing what it had always done best, preparing for war. The Empire's diplomatic vessel, a massive ship designed to inspire awe and fear, entered Earth's solar system with its shields lowered. A gesture they considered generous. Captain Roberts of the United Earth Defense Force watched from the bridge of humanity's largest space station as the alien ship approached, its silver hull gleaming in the sunlight. "They're broadcasting a message, sir," his communications officer reported. "It's being transmitted on all frequencies." Roberts nodded, his face calm despite the historic moment. "Put it through." The message was simple and direct. "People of Earth, you are now part of the Galactic Empire. Submit to our rule within 1 Earth day, or face immediate conquest." This is not a negotiation. In the United Earth Council's emergency chamber, representatives from every nation gathered to discuss the ultimatum. The room buzzed with tension, but there was none of the panic the Empire had expected to see. "They're testing us," said General Thompson, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display of the Empire's ship. "This is textbook psychological warfare. Show overwhelming force, demand immediate surrender, expect compliance." The council leader leaned forward. "And if we don't comply? Then we show them why humanity has survived every crisis it's ever faced," Thompson replied with a grim smile. Back in space, Roberts initiated first contact protocols. His station's communication array sent a carefully worded response. "Empire vessel, this is Earth Station Alpha. We request peaceful dialogue and cultural exchange before any formal decisions are made." Aboard the Empire's ship, Commander Gray sneered at the response. Like most Empire officers, he had overseen dozens of planetary integrations. All followed the same pattern. Primitive species would either surrender immediately or make weak attempts at negotiation before giving in. "Send them our terms again," Gray ordered. "Add that any delay will be considered hostile action." As the message was sent, Gray noticed something odd. His sensors were picking up increased activity around Earth. Small ships were moving in precise patterns, and energy readings suggested defensive systems were powering up. But they were so primitive. Surely they couldn't be planning to resist. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "we're detecting numerous small objects moving away from their lunar base." Gray dismissed the warning with a wave. Probably trying to hide their leadership. Typical primitive behavior. On Earth Station Alpha, Roberts received a priority message from command. He read it twice, then opened a channel to the Empire ship. "Empire vessel, we have reviewed your terms. We request 24 hours to prepare our formal response." Gray laughed. "Buying time," he told his bridge crew. "Just like all the others." He turned to his weapons officer. "Let's show them what happens to those who delay. Target one of their smaller stations, something unnecessary." The Empire ship's main weapon powered up, its energy readings off the scale compared to anything humanity had built. In one smooth motion, it turned and fired at Research Station Beta, a small facility housing 300 civilian scientists. Time seemed to slow as the energy beam reached out across space, but instead of destroying the station, something unexpected happened. The beam hit an invisible barrier and scattered, spreading harmlessly into space. Gray stood up in shock. Impossible. Their technology level couldn't possibly. "Sir," his sensor officer shouted, "those objects from the moon, they're shield generators. The primitives have a defensive network." Before Gray could respond, his ship shuddered as something small and fast slammed into their hull. Then another hit and another. The primitive human ships had launched a coordinated attack, using the Empire's moment of surprise to close in from all directions. Roberts watched from his station as Earth's true defense grid activated. Hundreds of small, automated combat units emerged from hidden positions. They were based on simple technology, rail guns, chemical rockets, and basic AI. But they moved with perfect coordination, overwhelming the Empire ship's advanced but predictable defense systems. "Send a message to the Empire vessel," Roberts ordered, his voice hard. "Tell them, your unprovoked attack on civilian scientists has been noted. Consider this humanity's formal response to your terms." The Empire ship, its shields failing under the relentless assault, started to retreat. As it fled, Gray realized with horror that this primitive species had tricked them. They had hidden their true capabilities, waited for the Empire to make a mistake, and then struck with devastating efficiency. In his office at Central Command, Admiral Jones watched the battle recordings with a mixture of satisfaction and dread. "And so it begins," he muttered, "the Empire's first real war in 1,000 years. The Empire's response to their diplomatic ship's humiliation was swift and brutal. 100 warships, each larger than Earth's biggest cities, emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Their hulls gleamed with energy weapons that could crack planets, and their shields had withstood the weapons of 1,000 conquered civilizations. "Look at these primitives," Fleet Commander Ross said from his flagship's bridge. "They don't even have a proper space fleet. This will be over in hours." Behind him, a junior officer monitored the tactical display. "Sir, the humans are doing nothing. Their stations aren't even powering weapons." Ross smiled. This was how it should be. Primitive species frozen in fear at the sight of real power. "Launch our first attack wave. Standard conquest formation." 30 Empire ships broke away from the main fleet, forming a perfect arrow shape as they moved toward Earth. Their computers calculated the most efficient attack patterns, just as they had done in countless battles before. In Earth's hidden command bunker, General Thompson watched the approaching ships with experienced eyes. Around her, military leaders from every major nation stood silently, waiting. On her screen, a simple message flashed: permission to execute Operation Hornet's Nest. Thompson took a deep breath. This would be humanity's first major space battle, but they had been preparing for this moment since they first looked up at the stars. Permission granted. Release the swarm. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Empire ships continued their advance, their sensors detecting no threats. Then, suddenly, thousands of small lights began appearing all around them. "Sir," the junior officer called out in alarm. "New contacts. They're launching from everywhere. The asteroids, the moon's dark side, even what we thought were debris fields." Ross rushed to the tactical display. What he saw made no sense. Instead of proper warships, the humans had built tens of thousands of small automated drones. Each one was barely larger than a car, powered by simple fusion engines, and armed with nothing more advanced than kinetic weapons. "They're no threat," Ross declared. "Our shields can handle primitive projectiles." But these weren't ordinary projectiles. As the drone swarm approached, they began moving in ways that defied standard combat logic. Instead of attacking in organized formations, they moved like a cloud of angry insects, their patterns chaotic and unpredictable. The Empire's combat computers struggled to track the seemingly random movements. Their targeting systems, designed to engage large ships in elegant space combat, couldn't lock onto the constantly shifting small targets. "Impossible," Ross shouted as the first drones struck. Each impact was tiny, but there were thousands of them. The drones weren't trying to break through shields. They were overloading them with countless small impacts, like waves eroding a cliff. "Sir, Baker's squadron has lost shields," an officer reported frantically. "Jackson's squadron reports their targeting systems are confused by the swarm patterns." Ross watched in horror as his perfect formation broke apart. The human drones were now among his ships, attaching themselves to hulls and firing point-blank into vulnerable spots. 3 Empire ships exploded as their reactors were hit. "Fall back," Ross ordered. "Regroup with the main fleet." But retreating proved just as difficult as advancing. The drone swarm didn't chase them. Instead, it created a shifting maze of deadly objects that the large Empire ships had to navigate. 5 more ships were lost just trying to escape. From her command bunker, Thompson allowed herself a small smile. "Send the second wave," she ordered. Larger human ships, still tiny compared to Empire vessels, but heavily armed, emerged from hidden bases on Mars and Jupiter's moons. They had waited for the Empire ships to be scattered and confused by the drone swarm. Now they struck hard at the disorganized enemy, their weapons primitive but perfectly aimed at the weaknesses the drones had exposed. In the Empire flagship, Ross watched in disbelief as his attack force was reduced to burning wreckage. Of 30 ships, only 12 made it back to the main fleet. The humans had used inferior technology and simple tactics, but they had used them perfectly. "Send a message to Central Command," Ross said, his voice shaking. "The humans, they don't fight like anyone we've ever faced. Request immediate reinforcements." As the Empire fleet regrouped, Admiral Jones received Ross's message. He played it for the now silent council. "I warned you," he said quietly. "Humans don't think like us. They don't fight like us. And most importantly," he paused, looking at the battle data, "they're just getting started." The Empire's Central Command buzzed with frantic activity. Emergency meetings filled every chamber as reports of the failed attack spread through the ranks. In the main war room, Admiral Jones stood before the council. His expression grim as holographic displays showed the destruction of their first attack fleet. "This is impossible," one council member muttered. "They're using outdated technology. Simple kinetic weapons, basic AI systems." And yet, Jones replied calmly, "They destroyed 60% of our attack force." The council leader slammed his fist on the table. "Then we'll send everything. We have thousands of ships, millions of troops. We'll darken their skies with our fleet." Jones watched as orders went out across the Empire. The largest fleet in 500 years began to gather. But something in the battle reports bothered him. The humans had been too prepared, too coordinated. They had known exactly how to fight ships they'd never seen before. Back in Earth's solar system, humanity was far from celebrating their first victory. In a secret facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, General Thompson met with a group of scientists and military leaders. "The captured Empire ship is a gold mine," the lead scientist explained, pointing to holographic diagrams. "Their technology is advanced, but their thinking is limited. They haven't had to innovate in centuries." Thompson nodded. "How long until we can adapt their tech?" "That's the interesting part," the scientist smiled. "We don't need to copy it. We can do better." Across Earth, hidden factories began producing new weapons. They didn't try to match the Empire's advanced technology. Instead, they found simple ways to counter it. If Empire shields could stop energy weapons, humans built better kinetic ones. If Empire ships were powerful but slow to turn, humans made faster, more agile craft. A month later, the Empire's massive fleet arrived. 5,000 ships filled the space around Jupiter, their weapons capable of reducing planets to ash. Fleet Admiral Green, the Empire's most decorated commander, led the force personally. "Pitiful primitives," Green sneered, watching his fleet's formations. "Let's show them what real power looks like." But as his fleet advanced, something strange happened. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and vanished again. They used Jupiter's storms as cover, hiding in radiation belts that scrambled Empire sensors. Small squadrons would appear, fire their simple but devastating weapons, then jump away using stolen Empire technology they'd already improved. "Sir," Green's tactical officer shouted, "they're not fighting fair. Our combat computers can't predict their movements." Green watched in growing horror as his perfect fleet was pulled apart. The humans weren't fighting the battle he had planned. They refused to meet his force head-on. Instead, they turned space itself into a weapon. Destroyed Empire ships became missiles, their debris carefully calculated to force other ships into ambush zones. Hidden bases on asteroids launched waves of drones that didn't try to destroy ships, but instead attached themselves like parasites, disrupting systems and creating chaos. They're learning too fast. Green realized, every time we adapt, they change tactics. The killing blow came from an unexpected direction. The humans had launched what seemed like a desperate attack on a supply fleet far behind the main battle. Green had dismissed it as a distraction. He was wrong. The humans had captured those supply ships. Now they used them to broadcast false orders using Empire codes. Green watched helplessly as his carefully organized fleet fell into confusion, with ships responding to fake commands and friendly fire incidents breaking out across the battle space. Full retreat, Green ordered, his voice hollow. Get us out of here. As the Empire fleet fled, leaving hundreds of destroyed ships behind, Admiral Jones received the battle reports. He wasn't surprised. The humans hadn't just fought back. They had turned the Empire's own strength against it. Do you understand now? He asked the Council. We fight wars like we're playing a game of chess. The humans. He gestured to the battle footage. They fight like they're fighting for survival. Because that's what they've always done. In Earth's command center, General Thompson reviewed their victories with cautious optimism. We've surprised them, she told her staff. But now comes the hard part. Now we take the fight to them. Around the room, heads nodded. Humanity had spent its entire history preparing for this moment, though they hadn't known it. Now it was time to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate the human spirit of innovation, or their will to survive. The Empire never expected humans to leave their solar system. They believed Earth's forces would stay defensive, protecting their homeworld like all other species did. They were wrong. In the Empire's outer territories, an agricultural world called Heaven's Garden received an urgent distress call from a neighboring system. As their defense fleet moved to help, something unexpected appeared in their skies. Multiple contacts. The planetary defense officer shouted. They're human ships. The human fleet wasn't large, just 50 vessels of different sizes, but they moved with deadly purpose. Using modified Empire engines that humans had improved in ways that shocked their creators. Leading this attack was Commander Walker, a veteran of Earth's old Navy who understood something the Empire didn't: the importance of cutting off an enemy's food supply. Begin Operation Harvest, Walker ordered. Remember, minimal damage to farming equipment and no civilian casualties. We're here to send a message, not destroy lives. The human ships struck with surgical precision. They disabled defense platforms with electromagnetic pulses, knocked out communication arrays with precise kinetic strikes, and jammed every transmission frequency with patterns they'd learned from captured Empire technology. In the planet's main city, the Imperial governor watched in horror as human troops landed in captured and modified Empire dropships. They moved differently from Empire soldiers. No grand formations, no standard tactics. Each squad adapted to the situation, using the environment in ways Empire training never considered. They're in the grain silos, a guard reported. They're taking our food stores. The governor expected looting and destruction. Instead, the humans loaded massive quantities of food into their ships with military efficiency. They disabled weapons but left vital infrastructure intact. Within 6 hours, they had taken enough food to feed their armies for months and vanished back into space. Similar reports began flooding into Empire Central Command. Human fleets appeared from nowhere, struck valuable targets, and disappeared before proper defenses could respond. They weren't trying to conquer worlds. They were systematically weakening the Empire's ability to fight. In a secure meeting room, Admiral Jones presented the latest reports to the Council. They're not just defending anymore, he explained. They're using our own expansion against us. Our empire is too big to defend everything at once. But how are they moving so fast? A council member demanded. They've only had our FTL technology for months. Jones brought up a technical analysis. They're not using our engines the way we do. They've modified them, made them simpler but more effective. They're doing things with our technology that we never thought possible. The Council's worst fears were realized when reports came from worlds near Earth. Several planets, seeing how effectively humans fought, had begun secret negotiations. They weren't just asking for protection. They were offering to join humanity's cause. On Earth, General Thompson reviewed the success of their counterattacks. The war room's main screen showed a map of Empire space, with dozens of raid targets marked in red. The Empire built its worlds like we used to build castles, she explained to her staff. Big, impressive, but too spread out to defend against fast raiders. They never had to worry about this kind of warfare before. A junior officer raised his hand. But won't they adapt to our tactics? Thompson smiled. They're trying. But that's the beauty of human warfare. By the time they figure out how to counter one tactic, we've already developed 3 new ones. The Empire's problems grew worse when they discovered what humans had done with civilian technology they'd captured. Earth's scientists had taken simple terraforming equipment and turned it into weapons. Mining tools became ship killers. Agricultural processing systems were modified into drone factories. In his private chambers, the Empire's council leader received an urgent message. Another border world had fallen to human raiders. But this time, something was different. The population had welcomed the humans, seeing them as liberators rather than conquerors. How is this happening? He asked the empty room. They're supposed to be primitives. The answer, though he couldn't see it, was simple. Humans had spent their entire history fighting, adapting, and surviving. The Empire had given them access to advanced technology, thinking it would take generations for humans to understand it. Instead, humanity had done what it always did, learned, adapted, and improved upon everything they touched. And they were just getting started. The Empire's greatest scholars gathered in a secure underground facility, their faces pale as they studied data from the ongoing war. After 6 months of conflict, they had finally begun to understand what made humans different from every other species they had encountered. It's their history, the head scholar explained to the emergency council meeting. Every other species we've met evolved through cooperation. But humans, he paused, pulling up images of Earth's past conflicts. Humans evolved through constant competition and warfare. Admiral Jones, now the Empire's chief military advisor, nodded grimly. They don't think like us because they never had the luxury of peace. Every human advancement came from trying to survive another day. On the main screen, footage played of the latest human innovation. They had taken simple mining lasers, modified them with Empire technology, and created weapons that could pierce advanced shields. Not because the weapons were more powerful, but because they worked in ways the shields weren't designed to stop. Look at how they use our technology, another scholar pointed out. We develop one tool for one purpose. Humans look at the same tool and see a dozen different uses. They're not bound by traditional thinking. In a distant star system, an Empire research station discovered this truth the hard way. Human ships appeared without warning, using modified civilian cargo transporters to bypass defensive screens. The station's commander watched in disbelief as human troops boarded using what looked like maintenance pods. They're not even wearing proper combat armor, he reported. They're using modified space repair suits. But these repair suits, enhanced with simple but effective additions, proved more agile than heavy combat armor. The humans moved through maintenance shafts, used industrial tools as weapons, and captured the station with minimal damage. Back on Earth, General Thompson reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Empire's response times were getting slower. Their mighty fleets, spread thin trying to protect everything at once, couldn't keep up with humanity's rapid strikes. "Show me the psychological analysis," she ordered. The report was clear. Empire worlds were starting to panic. They had never lost battles before, never faced an enemy they couldn't overwhelm with superior technology. Now they faced humans, who turned everything they touched into a potential weapon. Their biggest weakness, Thompson told her staff, is their belief that there's a proper way to fight wars. They don't understand that in real combat, there are no rules except survival. In Empire space, more worlds began seeking human protection. They had seen how humans fought, not to destroy or conquer, but to win while minimizing civilian casualties. It was a type of warfare the Empire had never considered, where the goal wasn't to crush your enemy, but to make them unable to continue fighting. The Council received disturbing reports from their best scientists. Analysis of human entertainment of all things revealed thousands of stories about war with advanced aliens. Humans had been mentally preparing for this conflict before they even reached space. They have something called science fiction. A cultural expert explained. They've been imagining this war for centuries, thinking of ways to beat superior technology. Everything we're seeing, the guerrilla tactics, the modified civilian tech, the hit-and-run attacks, they planned these responses before they even knew we existed. Admiral Jones stood before the Council one final time. "We made a terrible mistake," he declared. "We thought humans were primitive because they fought among themselves. We didn't realize this made them the most dangerous species we've ever encountered." He showed footage of human children playing strategy games, of their militaries running constant drills, of their industries able to switch from peaceful to military production in days. Their entire civilization is built on adaptation and survival, Jones continued. They don't see technology as magic like other primitive species do. They see it as tools, and they're very, very good at making tools do exactly what they want. The Council leader, his confidence finally shattered, asked the question they all feared. What do we do now? Jones looked at the latest battle reports. Humans had innovated again, finding ways to detect and disrupt Empire faster than light travel. They weren't just defending or raiding anymore. They were systematically taking apart the Empire's ability to fight back. "We do the one thing the Empire has never done before," Jones replied quietly. "We admit we were wrong, and we pray the humans are willing to talk peace." The Great Hall of Earth's United Defense Force headquarters was silent as Empire representatives entered. Admiral Jones led the small delegation, carrying a simple white flag, a human tradition they had learned to respect. General Thompson and Earth's military council waited at a long table, their faces showing neither victory nor hatred. "We come to discuss peace," Jones announced, his voice echoing in the quiet room. Thompson nodded. "You understand this won't be like your usual surrenders." "We're not here to demand your surrender," Jones replied quietly. "We're here to offer ours." The news spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. For the first time in 10,000 years, the mighty Empire was admitting defeat. But what shocked other species even more was what happened next. In the Empire's Central Command, the Council received Earth's terms. They expected harsh demands, planetary surrenders, or massive reparations. Instead, they found something unprecedented. They want partnership. The Council leader read in disbelief. The human terms were simple but revolutionary: equal status for Earth in galactic affairs, free exchange of technology and culture, and a new defensive alliance. Not conquest, but cooperation. As the peace talks continued, Empire analysts finally understood their greatest mistake. One presented his findings to the combined Earth-Empire Peace Conference. "We thought humans were holding back their strongest weapons," he explained. "We were wrong. Their strongest weapon was their ability to turn enemies into allies." The evidence was clear. Throughout the war, humans had carefully avoided civilian casualties. They had protected Empire citizens during raids. They had shared medical supplies with captured worlds. Even while fighting, they had shown the galaxy a better way to exist. In Empire space, a remarkable message began broadcasting on all frequencies. It wasn't a victory announcement from Earth. It was a warning from the Empire itself. To all spacefaring civilizations, the species known as humans are not to be underestimated. Do not mistake their technological level for weakness. Do not provoke their worlds. Do not attempt conquest or intimidation. The message continued, describing how humans had defeated the Empire not through overwhelming force, but through innovation, adaptation, and an understanding of warfare that went beyond simple combat. In the peace conference's final session, Admiral Jones asked the question that had bothered him since the war began. Why didn't you use planet killers or death rays? We know you've imagined such weapons in your fiction. General Thompson's answer surprised him. Because we've also imagined the consequences. In all our stories, those who use such weapons eventually destroy themselves. We learned from our fictional mistakes, so we wouldn't repeat them in reality. As news of the peace spread, other species began reaching out to Earth. They weren't seeking protection anymore. They wanted to learn. How did humans innovate so quickly? How did they turn weaknesses into strengths? How did they maintain unity in the face of overwhelming odds? The Empire's last official act of the war was to create a new classification for humanity. In their vast database of species, humans were given a unique category: evolutionary warriors. Approach with respect. 1 year after the peace treaty, Earth hosted the first Galactic Defense Conference. Representatives from hundreds of worlds, including former Empire planets, gathered to learn from humanity's experience. But they found humans weren't just teaching warfare. They were teaching peace through strength, unity through diversity, and progress through cooperation. In the conference's opening speech, General Thompson summarized humanity's philosophy. We became strong because we had to. We learned to innovate because we had to. We mastered warfare because we had to. But our greatest achievement wasn't learning how to win wars. It was learning when not to fight them. Admiral Jones, now serving as the Empire's ambassador to Earth, watched the speech with new understanding. Humans hadn't just defeated the Empire. They had changed it, changed the whole galaxy. Not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through their unique way of seeing the universe and their willingness to share that vision with others. The final line of the Empire's warning message, now famous across the galaxy, summed it up perfectly. Human innovation is not limited by technology. It is powered by imagination, driven by necessity, and tempered by wisdom. If you value your empire, remember ours. Remember and learn.